shitty week for us. It's been a shitty couple months, but this week, or for the last 2 weeks, we've been struggling with no hot water.
Wait, at your place?
Yes.
Oh my
So
god. The
when we
fuck? That's
got the
horrible.
place, well, it's not bad now because it's fucking hot. So we've been taking like lukewarm showers right now. Um, so everything else has been running smoothly, but the water. The water has just been cold, and that's pretty much it. Um, so funny story, when we moved here, the previous owner either died or just fell off the face of the earth. And I say that because we've been getting their mail here and we've been sending back their mail, but their mail always comes back to us undeliverable. Turns out when we first got this place, we were asking what utilities we needed. And they were like, all you need is, basic, pay the city for water, trash, and then electric or whatever, or energy electric or whatever. And we're like, okay, cool. And they gave us this service that did it all in one for us. So like this guy got on the phone with this and he literally did everything that we need all in one go, like all in one call. We got everything squared away in like an hour. So they set up everything for us. And that included the internet and everything. And then he'll email us all our information, our passwords, and we go in there and change everything that we need to change up and everything. So we did that, and we had a water heater, and we asked if that water heater was electric or gas. Turns out it was gas. So we've been living here for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
The gas has been on for a year and a half, not in our name. The gas got turned off when I went out of town 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We get back, the water's hot, not hot. I called the repairman. The repairman said, I checked the water heater out myself, and I was like, I think this is a gas heater. So I didn't want to, I'm not a fucking water heater expert. So I called the repairman out. The repairman was like, yeah, this is a gas heater. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. I think our gas got turned off, and we haven't been paying a gas bill for the last year and a half. So I think I knew what already happened. So beyond the cause, they've been sending us a gas bill, but in the other person's name. So we haven't been opening that mail because it's in another person's name. And that was the previous owner of this house. So now we've been using that gas and we have to pay that gas bill.
No, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah, so no one ever told us. So we have to pay the gas bill to turn the gas bill on. And we already paid it and everything like that. And we're going to get the gas turned on Monday. But yeah, that was like a shitty ass situation. So it was like, it was $1,400.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So thank God it wasn't wintertime because I think our furnace is gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I asked what amenities do we need or utilities do we needed, and they told me only electric. I've been living in an apartment for the past 7 years. This is my first house, in Texas rather. So I know in like the apartments in Detroit and Michigan, they would tell we have everything is done through one company, which is DTE or Detroit Electric or whatever. And they control a big portion of Michigan. And normally when you get an apartment or whatever, they're like, well, you got to pay for electric and gas or whatever. When I moved to Texas, we only had to pay for electric. Like the heat's been through electric, and the gas there's been no gas like at all.
Yeah.
Every apartment I've lived in. So I thought that was like the thing for houses out here too. And I know there are some old houses that still have a gas setup and everything like that. And I asked around, the majority of people say like, yeah, we have electric, like that's what we do and everything like that. So yeah, that was my dilemma. So
yeah,
I wasn't happy about that.
Yeah, my heat's electric.
See,
but we have a gas stove, so we use gas for that, and I think our water heater is also a gas one as well. So
okay,
those are the only things. But yeah, heat's electric for us too. So
okay,
that blows. Dude, I can't stand government shit, dude. Dealing with fucking utilities or whatever, man.
Like, it's funny. This is private owned, so
yeah. Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the gas is private owned. The gases in Texas are private owned. They have to work with the government. But I tried to call the Texas like utility rail because I tried to talk to Texas Utility,
Mhm.
and then now this is where you can say fuck the government because I tried to talk call Texas Utility Commission or whatever for like customer complaints and everything like that,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to work with you if you get like screwed over or if you're like low income and you can't pay like important bills like that and you need to keep the lights on for your kids or something like that. It's supposed to help you through that, or you can they file a complaint on your behalf or whatever, and it's a public work, it's a public thing. So I called them and they're like, "Oh, you live this is for gas?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we only do like electric and water or whatever the fuck." So I'm like, "Okay." So they route me to they give me a number. I called the number. I kind of called the number twice, by the way, because I guess the lady just didn't want to pick up. I So I
Mhm.
called again. I called the first time, it goes to voicemail. I called the second time, and she's like, "Oh yeah, railroad and gas, complaint, whatever, customer complaint and whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just wanted some general information." And I told her the situation or whatever, blah blah blah. And she was like, "Oh, is this in Dallas?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Oh, well, you have to call this person because Dallas is not all. I mean, Dallas is Texas, but they have their own thing going on. And I'm like, so I gotta call the city of Dallas, and she gave me the dude's number or whatever. So, and I called the dude or whatever. It's like the utility manager for the city of Dallas or something like that, right? Obviously, he's like it's like an elected position or maybe a appointed position or whatever for the city of Dallas. Um, so I call him and it goes to voicemail, obviously. And then the voicemail says, "This is Nick, whatever his last name is, forgot his last name. It's a public official, so I'm not like leaking information. And his number's available on the public website, whatever. But yeah, he's like, "This is Nick, whatever, blah, blah." And due to COVID, we are not in office right now. And I don't know when I'm going to be. This is on his voicemail. I do not know when I'm going to be able to answer my voicemails anytime soon because of COVID policies. And we're not in the office. Bro, COVID has been over for about
What?
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That dude. What the fuck?
So I had to email this guy, and I mean, I emailed him today. I wasn't expecting to get anything, but yeah, that's as far as I got. As far as that, as far as the electric company, Deanna escalated it all the way to like the top or whatever,
Mhm.
as far as she can
Yeah.
escalate it. And they determined since we were still using it, it's kind of like an ignorance of the law thing. Like ignorance of the law doesn't excuse you.
Yeah.
So we they determined since we still used it and everything like that, we got to pay it. And I'm like, you know what, fair, whatever. I still think we shouldn't have to. I would like got to pay half of it, but whatever. We paid it, and it is what
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
still it's a big bill to pay all at once.
Yeah. So we had to dip into some like savings or whatever, but we can replace those savings. I think it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a that's where it's fuck the government because it's like, bro, like I'm paying my tax dollars. First of all, the lady, the gas lady, didn't even answer the phone the first time. She literally let it ring, and then I had to call again, and then she answered the phone like she was irritated. I'm like, you probably don't do nothing. I worked in government. People don't do nothing at all, Justin. Like they just sit there. So I know she was just sitting there, bro. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah. I was really upset, and yeah, I was upset with both the free market and the government. It was almost like I just want to tear everything down. I was in anarchy mode. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay now.
Word. Well, yeah, sorry. It sucks, man. I wish.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's, yeah, I wish they would have done something with you, worked with you, or something like that. But
yeah.
fucking
I
yeah,
think they thought we were trying to commit fraud or something like that, and I'm just like, no, we definitely did not know at all.
yeah. Word. Well, um, yeah. Just real quick things for me. Think I'm doing better. Been I mentioned it last week. I've been in kind of like a malaise for a little
Hmm.
while. I feel like I'm coming out of it, but playing Final Fantasy as hard as I have has actually helped me out. I think I kind of get me out of that shitty headspace. But I kind of want to let me do the rigmarole, and then I kind of want to talk
Okay.
about a video you sent me earlier today.
Okay.
And then we can get into the show proper. So, hi everybody. This is the Players Take episode 229. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host as always, Montrell Rice. Um, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games, and sometimes just our personal lives. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01 at gmail.com. All right, Montreal. So you sent me a video this morning about from Actman, but he posted his thoughts on Diablo 4, and he says it's a bad game, and I listened to the whole video, and
Mhm.
I agree with most of the things he says. But I told you this. I'm like, I feel like I'm almost in denial. Like I don't want to call it a bad game, but I feel pretty much the same way he does about it. For the most part, so it's like, is it a bad game? I don't know. I mean, we're a few weeks out now from having last played Diablo for both of us. Like, where did you leave it? Like, how do you feel about the game at this point?
um, yeah, I just like I said, I have an issue with the scaling of the game. Like that's my main issue with it.
Yeah,
Um, I don't want to say it's not a good game because the games were very everything surrounding it. Like one thing he harped on, right, was the skills, like the 5 skill thing. And I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but then again, this has been like the norm in our ARPG world. I don't know if they do that in Path of Exile or anything like that, where
yeah.
they
They do. You're
okay,
pretty limited in that game, and then I mean, Grim Dawn has like 10 skills on the action bar, 2 on the mouse, and then like you can swap action bars. But my thing with that, with him, with what he was saying, I don't really agree with that, because he did mention World of Warcraft, and I'm like, dude, like, we've all played WoW. You use like 6 abilities. It's like you have like 85, but realistically most of the time you're using like 6 of them at any given moment. So
yeah,
it's not a big deal to me,
yeah,
that
it's
part of
not a
it.
big deal. Like that's the part I disagree with him on. I
Yeah.
I did agree with him initially though because I'm in the same way. Like, okay, maybe you are designing this for console, right, and not necessarily keyboard and mouse. Final Fantasy 14 rather did a great job at controller. Obviously, you play it primarily on controller, so I don't see why a game like this could have action bars. Couldn't have switched action bars. Like at least give me 10 slots because I did want 10 slots. But you are limited to what you can build because of the slots in my opinion. So I'm like agreeing with them and I'm gonna disagree with them as well because like I said, this has been the same, this has been the norm to me since Diablo 3. Every ARPG has kind of had that standard except for Grim Dawn, where they
Mhm.
had like two 10 action bars or 2 action bars or whatever. So I don't know. And he didn't even mention Grindon. And that was another thing too.
He
He
didn't
kept
mention PoE
mentioning
either.
yeah,
I don't necessarily think he's an ARPG player.
yeah, he said Divinity Original Sin, and that's not really an
It's not an
ARPG.
ARPG. Yeah.
So yeah, like it was all over the place, but him comparing it to WoW kind of resonated with me because when I was playing the game, I feel like it's an ARPG, or I mean an MMO ARPG. I don't feel like it's just a pure ARPG. I don't like the always online thing. I can deal with it, but I don't like it, and I can deal with a lot of stuff. I can deal with a lot of stuff actually.
Mhm.
The one thing I can't deal with is the scaling. That really like takes the like I don't like calling it power fantasy, but I guess it is. Like it takes the power fantasy away from it. Like I like what he was saying where I want to go into a dungeon and get absolutely shitted on by a boss. I'm like, all right, I gotta come back and fuck you up. I gotta come back and get
Mhm.
stronger. And I come
Yeah.
back and I am stronger. But that doesn't happen in this game because everything fucking scales with you. Like I don't get a sense of danger when I'm walking in dungeons at all. Like in my opinion, and maybe that changes in World Tier 3, but World Tier 3 is like I feel like
45
it's gonna be
hours,
this.
50
Yeah,
hours. Yeah.
it's gonna be hours, and it's gonna be like I don't want to say like I got to learn the game. Well, I have to learn the game, but I should learn the game within the first, the first 40 hours I was playing the game. And I guess it's
Mhm.
like this Final Fantasy 16 argument that both me and you made where the difficulty makes a difference in the game,
Yeah.
in the systems, because I don't feel like I need to learn the systems, or the stats don't really matter at a certain point to me when I'm playing Diablo. Um, and maybe in like Act 5 it matters a lot more than it does in Act 2 and 3. But like it just didn't really matter to me. And then like for me to get into Act 1 of World Tier 3, and then I have to do that again, and it's like I don't I have to learn the game over again, or I have to learn how to actually play the game now. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. And then some of the other stuff he was saying, like about Diablo One, and I kind of agree with him. Like, do you know any of the blacksmiths' names? Like the immersion in the world, I wasn't really immersed in the world as much as I wanted to. Like the first hour or 2 hours, like I was really into the game. But then
Yeah.
as I started playing the game, I just started getting further and further away till I just really didn't care anymore. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is sad because the game has a really strong opening, but
Yeah.
after that, man, for me, it falls off. Like the story just falls off. And I don't remember
Yeah.
none of the characters' names and everything like that. Like it's not a personal story, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, yeah, his point about the characters in like Diablo 1 versus Diablo 4, like I resonated with that a lot cuz yeah, that's definitely there's a lot of people in Diablo 4 and I think this is a we're going to talk about this with we're going to talk about Final Fantasy later and Final Fantasy 16, but I mean, this is a common theme I think if you've listened to this show, even the last couple years. Montrell and I often like with a lot of these modern games that are coming out a lot of the time one of the like biggest negatives we list is like they're too big. This game is too big. The game doesn't need to be this big. And it's another case with Diablo 4. Like it was just a game that has this giant open world that is pointless. It's like one of the most pointless things in the game to me. Like I felt no desire to explore it. To his point, to Ackman's point in the video, like I feel like the areas blend together because you're not even paying attention to them. You don't live in them for any period of time. Like I was doing what he said he was doing in the video, like late in the game, dude. I was just running from point to point. I wasn't even fighting anything. I literally was just running through enemies. I didn't want to. I like unless the game forced me into an area where I had to fight, or it sent me into a dungeon for a story mission. I was otherwise avoiding combat because like it just there was no point to it. It's not fun. It's like not challenging. The enemies are easy to kill or like take forever to kill because you're fucking so weak early in the game. But you're not like threatened though. It's not like you're dying. It's just the game is slow.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like the open world was a weird choice for this game because I think that's the other thing. The map makes everything look so homogenized when you're looking at it. It looks horrible. The in-game map is fucking horrible looking. Like it's legitimately terrible. Because it literally just looks like a fucking giant like weird spider web. Like it has no personality to it whatsoever. There's no indicator of what an area like. There's no personality to the areas on the map, and then when you go to the areas, like it's just a bunch of corridors and like there's like a fucking like there's an obstacle that you can't go through and you have to go fucking around it or something, and it's like the whole map's built like that. It doesn't feel organic or natural. And I think that was a huge issue for me too with the like I just didn't feel like the areas felt like real or alive or lived in, the way that Grim Dawn does. Or even PoE. Honestly, I think PoE does a good job with their maps too. It's like so I think that's a big issue I had with the game. And I think the other thing is he mentioned was loot. Like the loot just sucks.
Yes, I was just about to get into that. I
Yeah,
think the
man.
loot really sucks in this game. I really resonated when he said, first of all the loot looks the same. There
Yep.
may be some differences in it. But besides from a few skills here or there, um, like when when we were playing, you had like a loot, some kind of equipment that gives you a shield. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
probably found that, but you know what? Fucking broke everything down and just sold it or whatever
Didn't even
because
notice. Yeah.
yeah, because everything looks the same.
Yeah.
And like he also said too with the stats, I that hit me so hard because I'm just like, bro, what the fuck do these stats mean? Like they
Yeah,
mean nothing to
yeah.
me at all.
15% to close enemies, 15% plus 15% to distance enemies. It's like, okay, what is the difference between those? Like what's the line of what's close and what's far, you know? Like
Exactly. And I don't know, man. It was just like I really wanted to like the game. I really wanted to like the game.
we were really bullish on it before it came out. We like I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be good, man. And it fell so flat. I kind of regret buying it. Like I'm at
I
that
do
point.
too. I
Yeah,
do
I
too.
kind of wish I had
I
that 70
regret it.
bucks back, dude. Like
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
but like he said as well, like this one hit me too. And I think this is what the philosophy me and you probably have to go forward on, and even the rest of our friend group, because we're all plus 30 in our friend group except for Chris. These games aren't designed for us like anymore. Like we're not their target audience. This
Yeah.
game was designed for Destiny players. When I played this game, I was playing
Yeah.
Destiny, and that's why I was getting so bored. I'm like, this is just a top-down Destiny. Like this is an isometric medieval dark fantasy Destiny I'm playing right now because that's
Yeah.
how I felt. Um, if you go back and play Destiny 2 and then you play this game, there's literally no difference besides the setting and like the, you know, obviously first person shooter. But the way everything is set up is so Destiny 2-ish like. I can't even call it Diablo 3 because you can play Diablo 3 offline. Like this is so Destiny-ish to where I was just like, I can't believe Blizzard just copied fucking Bungie. Now Bungie is the leader of like shit.
Yeah.
So I was really hoping they return to like I played the shit out of Diablo 1. I didn't play the shit out of Diablo 2. But I was really hoping like I get a mix of Diablo, and from what you guys were telling me, like Diablo 2 is like a better Diablo 1. So I was just really hoping like, and then like even Blizzard themselves were like, we're returning to Diablo 2 style. And I'm like, okay, yes, I'm finally gonna get that or whatever. And I wasn't scared at all. The setting was creepy, but
Yeah.
like Diablo 1 legitimately had me scared of going into dungeons, not because there were jump scares, but because I might meet an enemy that's fucking 10 levels higher than me that can fucking destroy me. You know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
you walk into a
Like,
room of like 30 skeletons and they surround you and you literally can't get out, you know?
yeah,
Like and
exactly.
like you could die
So,
to fodder enemies in that game, you know? Like
yeah,
that was a
exactly.
legit thing. They like if an enemy hit you, it would kind of stagger your character a little. And you lose control for a second. So if you got surrounded and the enemies were attacking in the right rhythm, you like would literally not be able to move and just die. So
Yeah,
it was pretty brutal.
and I just didn't feel that in this game at all. I felt
Yeah,
like,
fodder enemies are no threat at all. They're just literally there to like kill and make you feel like a badass. It's stupid.
yeah. And I
Um,
guess I don't want to feel like a badass. I just want to feel like I earned my
I mean,
badassness,
I
I
want to
guess.
feel yeah, exactly. I want to feel like a badass, but I want to be challenged. Like I want the game. I want to earn, like you said, earn it. That's the right word. I want to be challenged into being that. You know, like I want to be pushed into being that by the game. You know, I don't want it to be easy. You know, I don't feel like a badass when I use the kill all enemies in one shot cheat in like an RTS. You know, that's not fun.
Yeah.
I'm not cool when I do that. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't feel strong or anything like that. So I don't know. The more I think about this, though, I think the reality for me is I'm just I think I don't like Diablo as a franchise that much. I think that's the reality, dude. Like, because I played three. I played one way back in the day when I was a kid. I didn't play it super deep. I more watched my brother play it. And that was more my experience with that game. Two I never played until I was older, and then three was when I got into the series, really got into the series, and ultimately did not like three very
hmm
much. And then now four has come out, and I don't like four, and then two got remastered last year, and didn't
It's
really
dated.
like
It's just dated.
I didn't really like it that much, you know? Like I didn't
Yeah.
like it that much either. So it's like I don't I think Diablo 1 is very different from the next three games, like 2, 3 and 4 are all very different from 1.
Yes. Yep.
One's not real like he was mentioning like one's like in a lot of ways isn't really an ARPG in some ways. Like it's a kind of a different thing. It's a little bit more unique as a game. I mean, I think I like what that is, and I don't like the rest of the franchise that much. You know,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
I think that's what it is. Like I actually did play Diablo 1 when I was younger and I loved it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I didn't play Diablo 2. But I don't know. I think I can't get that feeling that I had back. Maybe PoE is that feeling I want. Um I just want
PoE's
something like
PoE's it's hard to get into, and I'll be honest, I would be very willing to play it with you if you wanted to try it. Um,
okay.
but it is a lot. It's a lot. It's a
Okay.
big it's a bear of a game to learn.
Yeah, because like I wanted the complexity of Grim Dawn, but I just want the gameplay of like Diablo 3 or something like
Yeah,
that.
you're
And I
not
just
going to get
want
that in PoE either. PoE and Grim Dawn are much closer to each other than PoE to like Diablo 3 or 4. Like
okay.
it's the gameplay is not that good in PoE. Like it's not that's not its strong suit, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I really wanted to do a good ARPG. I thought Diablo would fulfill that, but I don't know. I kind of should have known when they said the open world shared world thing. I kind of should have known like
I know that
that
was
was
a
going to
red
be.
flag, wasn't it? In
Yeah.
retrospect.
But we were just blinded by how good the game looks and you know
Yeah, we fell for it.
skills.
Look, guys, we're susceptible to it too. You know, this is
Yeah.
a this is example A, and you know what? I'll even put Final Fantasy in there. These are both exhibits of why you should never pre-order games. You know, I don't. It doesn't matter how good a game looks. You know, like you just aren't going to know if it's to your taste until you play it. And given that fact, you should never pre-order games. Like, just
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, people were asking me if I pre-ordered Final Fantasy 16. I told them no, I just bought it day one. And they're even asking me if I pre-ordered Armor Core 6, and I said no, I'm just going to pre-order. I mean, I'm just going to buy it day one, even though I got gameplay. It's more it to people's defense. It is more a little bit soulsy, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but it's not like in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's just the way they design the missions and the levels in the final in the bosses and stuff like that because bosses never fucking fought like that in Armored Core. I see people complaining about it, but whatever. But yeah, I didn't pre-order that game either. So um yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like this is a prime example of why you don't Final Fantasy 16, even though I love the game, is a good reason why you shouldn't pre-order games because plenty of people pre-order that game and they fucking hated it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Well, yeah, sorry, Diablo 4. This podcast is not a fan of you, unfortunately. But, all right, Montrell, let's move on into what we've been playing. So for me, it's really just Final Fantasy 16. And we're going to talk about that, I think, at the end of the episode. So if you want to go into what you've been playing other than Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so I play a little bit of Metroid Samus Returns. I still haven't finished. This game's fucking huge. I still haven't beat this game yet. That's because I've only been playing it in bite size. So it is a handheld game on my 3DS. Um, so yeah, I've been playing that, and I've been playing Fallout 4. So
This is
this
great.
game's interesting, man. I returned to this game because I've been removed from the Fallout franchise for a while.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give it another chance and give it a fresh take
Yeah.
without the New Vegas smell in my veins and the Fallout 3 smell in my veins and all that stuff like that. The game is okay. I still hate the fucking protagonist. Uh
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Um I don't like that there aren't really factions in the game. But once I turn my brain off and just play it like this is Fallout for what it is, it's a fun game. And I recommend people playing it on PC or Xbox because you can mod the Xbox version almost damn near like it's a PC. It's insane. Uh
Yeah.
all the mods that are on this game. I pretty much turned this game into almost a different game with the main quest and everything like that. But I can turn this game into like a Stalker esque type game or Metro esque type game to where it's kind of really harsh, and I have to use all my survivability, all my things to survive. And I think that's where the game really shines. Where you use the mods in the survivability mode, or you can just play hard mode and you play the game like that and like they got certain mods that fix animations and all this other shit like that. And on the Xbox Series X, You can boost it without mods. You can boost it to 60 frames per second. Because there's a little checkbox there that says FPS boost. And you can do it on other games as well, where you can boost it to 60 frames per second. Other old Xbox One games and stuff like that. Um, which is really fucking cool. You can also do that with The Witcher and everything like that. Uh, yeah, so anybody going want to go back and play previous generation games, if it's a third person or not third person, but a third party game, I recommend playing it on Xbox just because of that factor alone. Like that factor is really cool, and it's actually available for a lot of games.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you can turn a game even if they don't have a patch for it or anything like that. The Xbox will just boost it to 60 frames if it can. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Um, so yeah, in the mods, like I said, like I'm pretty much on. I don't know if you guys know what Nexus mods are, but yeah, it pretty much is like a link to Nexus mods, and they have a tab there that says mods on the official Fallout game, and then you just hit it, and then you can search for all the mods you want to search for. Um, and yeah, you just plug it in, you just download it, plug it in, and then you go, and it's actually made my experience way better. I got like high res textures and dense grasslands and better lighting and all the other shit like that. Like the game looks really good now. It runs really good with all these things and patches and minor bug fixes that the community did. So I'm enjoying the game so far. Like I mean, the main story is what it is. It is what it is with that. But everything else surrounding it, like the combat and the RPG mechanics and survivability stuff, I'm enjoying it. So I turned the game into I wanted to turn it into. Unfortunately, you can't fix writing, in the game. So they
Yeah.
do have mods though that you can download
Oh no.
that add writing to the game or add an
Yeah.
entire fucking whole new campaign that's voice acted by people who donated their voice acting skills and everything like that, which is really cool. So
Nice. Interesting. You gearing up for Starfield? Is that what you're doing or
maybe so because
okay?
I'm not gonna lie, that Starfield looked really cool. A lot of people were hating on it because of the 30 frames thing, but I'm like, this actually looks really fucking cool to me. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna pre-order it though, but I am gonna give it a shot.
Okay. Fair enough. Playing anything else or that it?
So that's it.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get into the news then. We have one news item this week. It is a follow up. It's a big one though. Microsoft has won their case against the FTC. The injunction that the FTC requested was denied earlier this week, and they are going to appeal. But them winning that appeal seems like a low likelihood. But we'll certainly follow that piece of it. But assuming that this stays the way it is, it's looking like one giant barrier for this deal to actually close has been uh, figured out now. So it's really that was the big one, and then obviously the CMA issues. But that is just one place that they can kind of, which there's already reports that Microsoft's willing to make some concessions there in order to get the approval from the CMA. So
Hmm.
it's looking like this may actually be happening. So
Yeah, I was actually surprised that people were supporting this.
yeah,
Um, a lot of people were supporting it. Even PlayStation people were supporting it. I think a lot of people are fed up with Call of Duty. Like a
yeah.
lot of people.
I
And I
know
already,
I've seen a lot of hate for that on the
yeah,
timeline recently. It's weird.
yeah. So I think I think it's bad because then now Microsoft can, because I think they can use this case to justify other purchases now, and I think, man, this is really bad for gaming because if Microsoft doesn't do anything and they can just buy out everybody, like what's
Yeah,
stopping them, you know? And
yeah,
I don't think it's a good look. I think this is a really bad precedence for gaming in general, like in the future.
yeah. And I mean, the thing with this kind of thing is, you can't really take this back, right? Let's say Phil Spencer is gone in 5 years. It's like Microsoft's still going to own Activision Blizzard. It's
Yep.
like so these decisions have long lasting ramifications, and I don't really care what Microsoft says about because Phil keeps, he tweeted out after this decision was made, this is good for gaming, blah blah blah, and the judge recognized that, that it's good for the industry and that it's not a, it's not an issue or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think consolidation of this size is good for any industry. We've seen it in the creative spaces like film and television with Disney fucking buying up every goddamn thing they can get their fucking hands on, and it's like everything's fucking made by Disney now. Like almost every fucking movie you watch is made by Disney, bro. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's, it's it's not a good situation because then you start getting situations where creativity becomes homogenized, and I think we're seeing that in films, definitely, for sure, where like you just get these stories that are all the fucking same, they're structured the same, they have the same beats, they have the same styles, it's like shit like that. And I don't want to see that in games, even though, I mean, we already see it now, and it's like
Yep.
uh, consolidation is going to make that worse, and I just don't think it's weird. It's not like I want Xbox to go away, or anything like that. But I also think though that they need to earn their place in the industry, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would say they have, and they have in ways, certainly, like hardware, especially. They've made big strides in hardware and services in a sense that Sony and Nintendo have not. Where Sony and Nintendo have made these strides in terms of the games they make, and pushing the
Yeah.
industry forward in that way. But Microsoft's never earned that. They've never, besides a very brief period in the Xbox 360 era. Like, I really don't think they've ever made games that pushed the industry forward creatively. And I think I I don't know. I don't like this for that fact because they're not gonna have to earn it now. They just bought it. And um
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like they did, and then they rode that high for so long. I
mhm,
feel like Halo and Gears really pushed the industry forward, especially as far as first-person
yeah,
console shooters.
right,
That really like set the tone for what how you should do first person on consoles and everything like that. Even like some of the racing games and everything like that, like Project Gotham Racing and everything of that nature. Uh, like they really did push the industry forward in that way, but they just rode it too hard. Like we're still on Halo, and they're still making Gears. They still haven't made nothing as iconic as those two franchises. Even those franchises are burnt the fuck out now.
yeah,
So what else do you have? Um, yeah, and I don't think it's really I don't know, man. I just think this is really bad. I don't know what's gonna do for Activision Blizzard. Like maybe it will force Blizzard. The only thing I can see good coming out of this, and this is just me being super positive, like way on the other side of the spectrum, trying to be positive,
yeah,
is this will force active or I'm sorry, Xbox will force Blizzard to have studios make other games outside of like the original genre of like Overwatch, for example, make a Genji action game or something like that, or make a StarCraft first person shooter or something like of that nature.
yeah,
Like, if you guys don't want to take chances with the IPs, I own you, so now I will take chances with these IPs and everything
yeah,
of that nature.
yeah,
But the problem is, do they even need to? They actually don't now because they own the biggest franchises in the fucking world. Like, as much as we don't like it, they own Activision Blizzard, who owns Diablo, WoW, Overwatch, and then you got Call of Duty. Like, those are the biggest franchises in the world. Only thing to rival it, in my opinion, is probably Fortnite. That's it. Um,
hmm
yeah. So I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. So yeah, and I think any hope to me that Blizzard is like gonna get quote fixed by this acquisition, I think is
No.
is naive. Given the success that Diablo 4 has found, in terms of sales, I don't think any directional change is going to happen with that studio. Now, I think, to your point though, I think it is good to point out though that there's a chance that we could get some very interesting games in Blizzard's IP realm that we would not have, if they just stayed the way they are now. So there's a chance we could get some interesting stuff out of this. I just don't think though, like World of Warcraft's not suddenly going to get way better. Diablo 4 is
Yeah.
not, Diablo 5 is not suddenly going to be way better. It's like they're
Yeah.
it's the same company. It's going to be the same company with the same leadership making the same shit, and there may be small changes here and there, like microtransactions maybe might be less aggressive or something, but even that feels like a pipe dream to me. So,
Yep.
unfortunately, guys, the Blizzard we knew 20 years ago is 25 years ago is gone. You know, and I don't think they're coming back, no matter what happens. So, it is what it is there, and you know, I'll be interested to see what Microsoft does with those IPs. I mean, that's the thing. That's the most intriguing thing about the deals for me is like, you know, let other studios play with these IPs. You know, like we talked
Yeah.
about this with Bethesda, right? Like the idea of id making like a fucking Halo game or something, you know,
Yeah.
or let Obsidian fuck with Fallout again, you know, shit like that. We can do that now with with Activision Blizzard's IPs as well. You know, let someone else make a fucking Warcraft game, like make a Obsidian make a fucking Warcraft RPG or something, you know,
Yeah.
like an Avowed style or something like that, RPG or shit like a Pillars of Eternity style, you know, that would be
Yeah.
fucking cool. Or somebody actually make a StarCraft shooter, you know, for the fucking third, fourth time and not cancel it this time, because
Exactly.
they have so many shooter studios at their disposal. Like somebody could do something great with that IP, I would think.
Uh, yeah, and they
Yeah,
have like Ninja Theory. They can get, Ninja Theory can make some kind of Overwatch game or something like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's the possibilities are there. The problem I have is Xbox had what, almost 4 years, 4 or 5 years to do something with these studios that they had, and they have released nothing of value. They've released stuff,
yeah,
but nothing has come. Like, we still haven't seen a rare game at all, and
yeah.
I don't understand what that studio is doing. I mean, Ninja Theory, I think their B team released a game. It was some kind of multiplayer game that didn't really, pop off really well, and they rather release Hellblade 2, which is, I mean, I'm pretty
That's
sure that's
taking
going to sell.
forever, dude. That's
That's
taking
taking forever,
fucking
man.
forever. Rare's
Um,
just been working on Sea of Thieves. You know, it's like
oh yeah,
about
that's what
it.
they've been working on, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah,
And I don't know. I mean, Obsidian's been pushing out some games. I mean, they pushed out. Obviously, they're working on uh Grounded. They're working on, what was the other game?
Penitent,
Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds
Outer
2,
Worlds
Penitent.
2, Penitent just
Um,
came out last year. And then
and
you've
then
got Avowed as well.
Avowed. And then I think they announced another game. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're working on other games as well. That seems to be the only studio doing some type of work, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that
obviously
yeah,
Bethesda is coming out with Starfield, um, which I think is actually going to be a huge hit, from what I've seen so far. So I don't know, man. It's a weird, it's a weird world. I would never have thought I've seen this.
yeah. I know.
Um,
It's a crazy deal. And I mean, all this stuff we're talking about, all these ideas, even if they come to fruition, this is not a like like this isn't a reason to get excited about the deal necessarily. Like, it's still not a great thing, but
yeah.
you know what though, I do want to look on the positive. There could be some interesting games we get in the future maybe out of this. So um yeah, but I don't have a lot more to say about it other than that.
Yeah, I feel bad for
Official.
PlayStation. I mean, this is gonna be. I mean,
I don't.
Nintendo's been quiet the entire
Yeah,
time. They're like, whatever.
they don't give a shit, dude. They signed the fucking 10-year exclusivity deal. They're like, wait a second, we haven't had Call of Duty for 10 years, and you're gonna guarantee it for 10 years? Okay, fuck, sign us up, baby. Let's go. Get that shit on Switch, boy. Like, I'll take a piece of that cod pie. So, I mean, yeah, I think Nintendo's like, whatever, man. Do your fucking thing, bro.
This will
um,
force, though, Sony to like up their game as far. I think this is why they're trying to do their multi-game initiative, but multiplayer game initiative. But I don't know. Maybe this will
I'm
force
I'm
them.
just I'm just a little worried about Sony. I think they're taking the wrong things out of the trends in the industry right now.
Oh
And
yeah, you're right. You're
I'm
definitely right.
not I'm not super excited about the next 10 years of PlayStation right now. Like,
They're doing the weird PS3 thing again. I'm telling you, man. Like, from PS2 to PS3, they're doing it. And they're not doing it as egregious as it was in PS3, but they're doing that again, to where
well,
they're making all
yeah.
this like shitty hardware, and they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh, we're prestige, and you will pay $500 for a new controller or whatever the fuck,"
You'll
And it's just
pay
like,
$600 for PSVR 2 with no
yeah,
games. Yeah.
like the Dual Sense, right, or the Dual Sense 2 or whatever the fuck it's called. Like I heard it's a really
Oh,
great controller.
Pro.
I
Yeah, I
can't
remember.
justify spending like 150, $200 for that controller. I can't
I
justify
mean,
that.
I buy Magic cards, so I can justify anything. But I have not bought one of those controllers yet. So, but it's. I think the thing is though, like for me, is I think they're a little worse than PS3 in some ways because they still have great studios making great games. Like the PS3 generation, they were in shambles. Like they didn't have great studios making great games. It took a little while for them to get that going. In that
Hmm.
generation, and right now they still do, but my issue is like those games and those studios are starting to get chipped away at a little bit, in my opinion. Like Horizon Forbidden West, while a good game, was a super bloated open world game that did not need to be nearly as big as it was. And God of
Hmm.
War Ragnarok was the same way. It was a great game that was bloated, you know, and I'm afraid that is their even for the single player games. Like we're gonna get Ghost of Tsushima 2, and I'm afraid that that's gonna be a great game that's fucking bloated.
Yep.
Because you could argue that Ghost of Tsushima 1 was a bloated game. I fucking love that game, and I think I platinumed it. Like I was obsessed with that game. But if I wasn't, it's a bloated game. It's a big game. There's a lot of
Yeah,
shit
it
to
is
do
a
in
big
that game.
game. Yeah.
So I'm kind of afraid that that's the lesson they're learning. Even in the single player space, is bigger is better. And it's like quantity over quality, but like they're still in the sphere where the quantity is quality. It's
Hmm.
just they're like veering like dangerously close to it being chaff though, and it's like filler. And I don't want to see that happen with Sony Studios because they're like the one place I can count on that doesn't make shitty, games with shitty content in it, and I don't want to see them get there. But dude, the vision of them with all the live service games, I mean, we're heading in that direction, man. I just think,
Well, hopefully, like this little FTC thing, will kind of shake them up and like they do the right thing. But yeah, traditionally though, Sony has only been good from the behind. Like
yeah,
if they're behind, then they know what to do to get forward. But when
yeah.
they're forward, they know how to lose the lead quick as fuck. It's insane. Like I've never seen a company blunder as hard as they blunder when they're in the lead. So, um, yeah.
All right. Well, um, yeah, that's it. That's all we had for news this week, guys. So, um, we did have a listener question again from Dat Dude. This is like I think 3 or 4 weeks in a row, man. Like, damn, he's putting in work. Um, this will be an easy one for us to answer, though. I think we've talked about this on the show before, but he asks, have either of you experienced video game burnout? If so, can you suggest what people can do to revitalize their passion?
Uh,
So, yeah,
yes.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think both of us have talked about burnout on the show before at various times. And it happens to me pretty consistently, actually,
Hmm.
with games. And my answer to this is always like step away, like embrace the burnout, like leave it for a bit. Like don't play anything, go watch television, go, watch YouTube or go out, be social with people, like read books, do some other activities, whatever that is, um games will be there when you're ready to go back to them, and it's better to, rather than force it and push yourself through a burnout period, it's better to walk away and come back revitalized and excited to jump back in,
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. That was gonna be my thing, but I was just gonna say touch grass. Like,
Yeah, really, it
I,
really
I,
do. Yeah,
I, for me personally, like I go hiking, I go hunting, or I go out shooting or something like that. And I'm pretty sure, like now you're doing golf and everything.
I'm
Um,
trying. Yeah, I am. I'm more recently in my life trying to like get myself out of the house a little bit, do some things that aren't just sitting in like sitting in my chair in my office
yeah,
in my house, like
if you're able to. I know some people either don't have the time or physically are not able to do it. But like, yeah, if you're able to, just like I say, go outside. For me, like when I'm outside. it kind of makes me miss being inside and miss me playing my video games sometime. Or it just takes my mind off of it. Or
Yep.
like, go another thing, which is what DJ does, he watches a lot of fucking movies. Like movies are really re- revamp your love for video games because you can sometimes you can see the tropes in those, and then sometimes you can be like, man, I really want to play a video game like this movie. Also, like Justin said, like reading a book does that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep.
So yeah, I just think that should be. I for me personally, yeah, outdoor activities really just revitalizes my passion. I take a step back, I embrace the burnout, and I go do other things. Um, I go spend time with my wife.
Of course, right.
um, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you have the time to play games, and you're physically able, like if you're burning out on games, that means you have the time to go do other stuff.
yep,
Fuck, like, dude, I actually really enjoy doing this. Like, go to the movie theater by yourself, and just go watch a movie. I enjoy going to the movies alone. I'm weird like that, but I it's a fun activity for me, and it's like I do it occasionally. When the mood strikes me. So
yeah, I do that too. That's funny because I do that shit a lot. I'll be
yeah,
like,
man, I
I'm
just
going
go
to the
to one of
movies.
those. You go to a dine-in theater and just have a nice little dinner and just sit back and watch a movie. It's good, it's fun.
Yeah, my girl like, can I come with you? I'm like, nah, this is just a me thing. I just want to go see
I
this movie or whatever.
always invite my wife, but the movies I go see by myself are shit she has no interest in most of the time.
Yeah,
So she
yeah,
always says,
exactly.
"Fuck no, absolutely not. I'm not going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with you when I've never watched a fucking Marvel movie in my life."
You know what? I will say my girl's willing to see almost any movie with me. I will say
Okay.
that. So I'm happy about that. But
Well,
sometimes I do just want to go by myself.
I took I took Amanda to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Hmm.
I think last year was when that movie came out, and dude, she had no idea what the hell was going on. It was so funny. She was like, "Who's that guy? What is going on?" And then when there's a scene in that movie where there's like a whole fight scene where they're like playing music against each other, it was the weirdest shit. I mean, it was so trippy, and like she left the theater and was like, "I don't what why do you watch these why do you watch shit like this, like what the fuck was that?" So
That is
yeah,
a
that was
weird movie to bring somebody to, though. That's a
absolutely
weird
well,
one. Yeah.
she decided to go. I was just gonna go alone. It's all that's I don't force her to do anything. If she didn't want to go, she didn't have to go, but she said, "Okay, I'll go with you." And I was like, "All right." Sure. It was funny as fuck. But no, so but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of shit out there you can go do, so
Yeah.
take a break, embrace the burnout, let it go for a little bit. Gaming will always be there. Okay, all right, Montreal, we're through the outline of the all the written stuff, and we're at the point we both finished Final Fantasy 16. I just finished it literally an hour ago. um So we're gonna spend the rest of the episode talking about it. Let's give some quick non-spoiler thoughts, overall thoughts in the entire game, and then we'll go into more spoiler territory. So, how'd you feel about the game as a whole?
Um, solid 8.5. Solid 8.5 for me. It's not a perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
I give it an 8 because yeah, the difficulty thing really takes a
Yeah.
toll on you. So I'm definitely giving it an 8. But I think it's still a solid game. I wouldn't be upset if you were an action game enthusiast and you bought this game. I wouldn't be upset if you bought it for $60, in my opinion, or $70 now. Um, but if you're not an action game enthusiast, um, I would not buy this game at all. I would wait for a price drop and then buy it. It should, a price drop for Final Fantasy games usually happen pretty quickly. Um, yeah, that's my interpretation. Now, I will say this: I had a thought, and I don't know if you agree with me. To me, this game is a better version of Tales of Arise,
Oh my
story
god.
wise.
I hate you. I was literally like, when I was finishing the credits, I was thinking about other games, and I was like, yeah, there's definitely some Tales of Arise in this game, and we'll get into that more in the spoiler section.
Yeah,
Why I
yeah,
feel that way, but yes, no, definitely. not in terms of gameplay. Like
No,
they're
not in
different
terms of
games in terms
gameplay.
of game narrative structure. There's a lot of similarities between the two games. And I don't want to say more than that because it's too
Yeah.
spoilery. But
But yeah, I feel like it's also a good game to get into if you're trying to learn like action games
yeah,
and you're like really intimidated because you can't people can be intimidated by Devil May Cry. Not even gonna lie. Bayonetta, I think you can be intimidated by those. Near possibly. I think that's a soft launch into action games as well. I think these Near in this game is a really good game to get into if you're trying to get into like action
yeah,
games. I
I
will
can
say
see
that.
that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, one piece of advice, if you're struggling with the game, dodge into attacks, not away from them.
Yes.
That's how you play this one. So, yeah. So my thoughts overall, I'm a little cooler on it, I think, than you. I was leaning, I was leaning 8 as well if I was going to give it a number score, but I'd probably say 7.5 to 8, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
It is a I don't want to call it a great game. It's a good game. It's a very good game
Yes. It's
in
a good
some
game.
ways.
Yeah.
There is some issues with it. Unfortunately, a lot of that for me has to do with the narrative, and I'll get into that later. I will say this is another game example though of a game being too fucking big. This game is humongous, and I just felt there was a point in the game where I felt like it was never gonna fucking end. And that isn't a good
I
feeling.
told you. I told you.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling to have, dude, when you're playing a game and you're starting to think that, where it's like, God, dude, like when is this shit gonna end? Because even late into this game, they are introducing new areas for you to run through, and it's just it's too much. There's a lot of content they could have cut from this game to make it leaner, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think the open world areas do this game any service at all.
None
Um,
at all.
as pretty and beautiful as they are, and as cool as they look, they offer no value in terms of gameplay whatsoever. They're honestly an annoyance more than anything to me, especially late in the game. So that's like the game's biggest flaw, and it's a big one to me because this game is legitimately 50 hours to full complete, like the story, and maybe more, honestly. And that's a tall order. And I was, dude, it was I was playing it. I was going through the late stages of the game and going through one of the areas, and there's like, they give you like a marker to tell you where to go or whatever for the next story beat. And it started to remind me of Xenoblade Chronicles when you go into a new area in those games and they put a marker on the ground and you walk to it, and then there's like a little cutscene that plays, like a 2-minute cutscene where the characters say some shit or something, and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, look, there's a mountain over there. That's where we need to go. Let's go, guys. And it's like there's kind of that shit going on, and it's like I don't need this here, like it's not contributing to the game. It's not making this more fun. In Xenoblade, it's a little bit more, it's funnier. I enjoy it more in that realm. And a lot of the time it's like characters interacting with each other. This game does not have as many characters, so you don't get those interactions as much. And even when you do, it's like the same two characters talking to each other for like 5 hours straight, and it's you kind of, it gets a little old. So to the point of the party issue, that is where that starts to come in a bit, especially later in the game. The characters you're with get very much like downsized into basically there's one person you're running with for the most part, and
Yeah.
everybody else gets sidelined, and it's not great. So um but yeah, I mean, the combat, though, I will say, to the game's credit, I think the combat gets way better the further you go into the game. Once your options start opening up, when you get more of the icons available to
Mhm.
you, dude, like the gameplay changes significantly with certain icons that you get. Particularly like the last three, I would say.
Yes. Yep.
Um, Especially the fucking last one is
Yeah.
super good and is
Yeah.
really fucking fun to figure out. That one was awesome to figure out how to use that one during boss fights, because it's not a simple one to master.
Mhm.
But very, very effective once you figure it out. So I think the combat options become a lot more enjoyable to play around with, and I think the boss fights in general in the back half of the game are mostly excellent, I would say. Overall, I don't want to name names. I'll name names in the spoiler section, but most of the boss fights, the icon fights, are fucking awesome. Um, the only fight that really annoyed me probably was honestly the last boss. The last couple phases of the last boss are just like stupid. Like the game doesn't. I feel like the game doesn't work in that fight in ways because you'll dodge an attack and the attack is so fucking long. Like the attack is like the damage zone is there for so long that you dodge out of the attack, and by the time you're vulnerable again, you're still fucking in it because it's still
Yeah,
going.
you definitely have to dodge multiple times
Yeah,
because there are
and it's
multiple hit attacks. Yeah,
it's fucking it's annoying. It's a little frustrating. I think the combat like hit its limit in that final boss fight for me a little bit, but that was the end of the game, so I didn't have to deal with it any further than that. So um but yeah, I mean I think it's a good game. I think I would not recommend it at full price. I'm kind of with Montrell on that. I'd say wait for a price drop, 50-40 bucks probably. That'd probably be good price point to get it at. But it's a good game, definitely worth experiencing for sure. And
yeah,
if you like character action games, definitely probably worth checking out.
100% agree.
All right. I want to get into spoilers. So I'll do the rigmarole for those of you who want to exit, who haven't finished Final Fantasy 16 yet. So this will be a little bit shorter episode for you guys. But so for those of you who like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. That's for Montreal. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right. For those of you leaving us, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week. And then for the rest of you, all right, Final Fantasy 16 spoilers. So yeah, Montreal, let's get into the dirty, deep and dirty side of this game. Tell me, what did you like? What didn't you like? What parts of the game were great? What parts of the game weren't so great? What was just meh?
Um, so the parts that were just meh, we already kind of mentioned it. I didn't like the open world sections. The more I thought about it, the more I just didn't like it. Um, I don't think they're good. Uh,
Yeah,
you
I
know, it's
honestly think they're terrible.
Yeah,
To be
they're
frank.
terrible. They look really nice, but they're just terrible. You know what's funny? I'm playing. So when comparing you to Fallout 4, you know some shit's bad. I
Mm.
was playing Fallout 4, and it
Mm.
was legitimately more rewarding in those games to explore than it is in this game.
Oh,
I was like happy
absolutely.
to find shit in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
My whether it was lore, a weapon, or something. Especially playing like in the harder difficulties, like anything you can find is like really because you're starving at this point. Because the game is kind of hard, and I was like legitimately happy compared to like when I was playing Fallout or Final Fantasy 16. I just didn't care, and when I did open chest, I didn't care. The crafting is complete ass. Like Skillup was right about that. The
Yeah.
crafting is complete ass. They shouldn't even have a crafting in this game. To
I
be
don't think they
completely
have
honest with you,
equipment in this game either.
yeah, they shouldn't even have equipment in this game. To be completely honest with you, I think to me, I think putting the skills on cooldowns limited the combat. They need a
Yeah.
reason to justify the equipment, and even the equipment doesn't really do its skills any kind of justice, in my opinion. I think they should have just full blown laid into the character action thing because you get swords. The swords look cool and everything of that nature, but I don't care. Like I'm just like, all right, I'm going to be doing more damage or whatever. Like cool. The gil that you get or the gold or whatever,
Oh my god,
I
useless.
don't care.
It's
The
it's for
shops that
buying
you have,
consumable. That's it. That's it.
yeah,
That's all I used it for.
I don't care. Like I just don't care. Now, one thing I will say that everyone was hating on, I love the characters in this game. I love the side characters in this game. I think the side
Yes.
missions do the lore in the world building justice. The side missions themselves, fucking ass. They're bad, like straight up. They're very MMO
Yeah.
esque. They're
Yep.
very Final Fantasy 14 esque. If you, but they're more tolerable because Final Fantasy 14 is an MMO, so I can tolerate it in that. I just don't think they have a place in this particular um genre or game. But they do put the world into perspective and everything of that nature. Like we mentioned the Chloe, that the Chloe mission where we found out Chloe was actually a slave or a bearer when we thought the little girl was referring to her as a dog or as a pet or
Sheep,
whatever.
I think it was.
Yeah, as a sheep. And we found her and she was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I got to get a new Chloe. And we're like, bro, this was a fucking human being. um I don't know, the bearer system and how they treat bearers was like really fucking gross. It was really gross in a good way. Like it was like I hated when people were talking about how they were treating their bearers. Like one boy had a brother that was a bearer, and his mother gave it away and was like, "We don't talk about them. They're not even human or whatever." And it's
Yeah.
just like,
I'll
what the
make you
fuck?
another one or something.
Yeah, I'll
It's
make you
yeah.
another one or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like the world that they set in this game was really, really good. I really love the world building in this game. I love the characters. I love Clive as a character. He wasn't too edgy. He was edgy when he needed to be edgy, and he was nice when he needed to be nice. He was a real character, in my opinion. Uh, I don't know, man. Like what I another thing I love the boss fights. I think I loved all the boss fights. I don't think there was one boss fight I didn't like, actually, to be honest with you. Uh the boss fights, especially in the later half, really amped up. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta actually start
It
paying
started
attention
with
now.
Titan, dude. It started with Titan. Um,
Yeah.
like I love the human battles against like when Hugo is just primed, like he wasn't in icon form yet. I love
Yeah.
those fights. Like, um, the icon battle with him was still cool too, but those I think the ones against the Bahamut fight was fucking insane. I just like
Yes.
it just kept ramping up, and I'm like they can't keep they can't keep ramping it up, and then all of a sudden we're in space and it's like, you know, DBZ the Battle of Gods or some shit.
That's exactly what it reminded me
Uh,
of, bro.
and I'm like, what is happening in this game right now? Like, is this the final boss? Like, what is going on, bro?
That
Um,
fight was so fucking fun. Like that shit
it
was
was an awesome fight. It was a really good fight. And then I think the fight against fucking Odin was fucking awesome, dude. Like
the human
Barnabas,
fights against Odin was just fucking dope, man.
amazing. Like super good fights.
Yeah.
Um, there was a fight. The first fight against Ultima, like when he runs away from you, was really cool. I like that one
Yeah.
as well. That one was really good. The Behemoth was a good fight. Also, what's his name? Sleipnir, whatever the fuck they were calling him. Barnabas is Lord Commander, dude. Like that was a
Oh
fucking
yeah,
cool ass. That was
that
like
was
a
a cool
dark
ass
that
fight.
dude. That felt like a Dark Souls boss.
No,
The way he looked. Like
that legitimately, that one I will let people slide because that one did remind me of like a Bloodborne / Dark Souls boss.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a really cool fight actually. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a great fight. It was kind of out of place because most enemies don't fight the way he did. You know,
that's when for me that's when the difficulty ramped up. I was just like, whoa,
yes,
okay, what the
absolutely,
fuck?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So one part with that fight, right? I know we're not getting to story yet, but it bugged the shit out of me. It legitimately made me stop, and I thought maybe I was like slow, and I searched it up online, and no one else is talking about this. All right, after that fight, and then the King of Walud comes out. I forgot his
hmm
name.
Barnabas.
Barnabas comes out, and they leave Jill to fight Barnabas.
Yeah,
You go back to the hideout, and
yeah,
everybody, in my opinion, was just like happy. I'm like, we just
dude.
lost Jill.
I know. I'm legitimately like, dude. They didn't mention her for like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm like, bro. There's no way Clive would not have. The first thing he would have asked is like, where the fuck is Jill? You know,
Yeah, he
like
woke up and he didn't even ask. And I'm just
no,
like,
it took Joshua mentioned it like basically when they're all walking away, like the conversation's finished, like, oh, by the way, Clive, Jill never came back. Like, what do you mean Jill never came back, bro? Like, that's insane. That would be insane. Like, And then Clive, what is Clive like? Brushes it off, right?
He brushes it off. I
He's
was
like,
just like,
"Oh, she's tough. She'll survive," or something like that. I was like, "What the fuck?"
bro, I was so confused, bro. I thought maybe she was somewhere in there or like she did come back, but she's like injured or something. Because
Yeah,
everybody was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm glad you're back, Clive. Oh my god, you woke up." And I'm just like, and then Clive found out the news, and he's just like, "Ah, yeah, yeah, she's all right." And I'm like, bro, like, isn't this like the love of your life? Like, what the?
yeah. Well, they hadn't gotten there yet. That moment hadn't happened yet, I guess. So they're
Oh
still
yeah, it's
playing it
true.
off.
That's true.
But I want to talk about the open world though again and the bloat real quick.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
because that fight that moment we were just talking about right after that, there's a whole combat section. And I'm gonna be honest, this game started to piss me off a lot with how many stupid combat encounters it would just throw at you in the dumbest moments when dude, like they're literally they're trying to get the fucking boat going in Canver and they're trying to leave and a bunch of enemies just show up and you fight like four waves of enemies for no fucking reason, dude. Like it's a complete waste of 15 minutes of my life, It's like that did not need to be there at all. It's like and like all of a sudden Sleipnir's like there and there's like 18 of him and everyone's fucking killing the dude all of a sudden. It's like what the fuck was going on there? I'm like I don't know. It just like there was that later in the game there's just so many combat encounters in some of these areas. It's like dude, it's just encounter after encounter after encounter. And luckily like Odin is so fucking OP like as a one of the icons you can equip that like I was just obliterating groups of enemies with Zanzukin at that point in the game. But it's like, man, dude, if you're not doing that shit, like this shit must have fucking dragged out for people. And I think I started to understand why Skill Up and Jason Schreier were so like not into this game. If you were not enjoying this game and you don't like the characters and you don't like the world and you don't like the story, I can understand how the back half of this game like really makes you hate this game because it definitely can drag. And there's a lot of moments in the game, especially late when you get to Ash, where they make you traverse through areas, and I'm like, bro, we are in the hyper late game. Why are you making me walk 1,000 meters through a fucking landscape? Like, and I'm literally just running through it at this point. Like,
And
same
they
thing I
have
was
the
doing with
nerve to
Diablo.
put side quests in there.
I know, dude. I'm like, this just take all this out. Like that shit sucked, dude. I'm just like, I just want to get through this game, bro. And it's like, it's just another 10-minute run somewhere. And it's like, I'm like, God damn it, dude. And there's parts of it where you have to fight. Like you can't run through it. Like there's a gate being blocked by enemies or something.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that's where this game like hurt a lot. I think is
Yes.
is is those moments. Because yeah, I really think if they just cut this game down 20 hours and they took out all the side, not all the side quests, but like took out a lot of the side quests, got rid of the RPG system, the crafting system, and focused more of this on as an action game that was like 30 hours. I think they would have had a much better game because it just felt like they were hedging. Like they didn't want, like they were afraid to get rid of all the RPG mechanics because it's Final Fantasy. But I'm kind of like, dude, you guys should have just leaned into it, man. Like I think the game would have been better for it personally.
No, yeah, I agree. That's what I was saying too. Like in the non-spoiler part, this game should have just leaned into it, man. Because
Yeah,
I understand what people are saying, like where they
yeah,
saying like, well, the game was too easy or whatever, and it is too easy. And usually in like Devil May Cry and other games like that, the games are like 15, 16 hours, 20 hours at most or whatever, and then you can hop right back in and play it as in the harder difficulty or whatever. I don't want to play this game 50 hours in. I just don't want to do it anymore. Like I need
yeah,
to take a break from the game. And then
yeah,
once I take a break from the game, I'm gonna remember if I'm gonna forget my button combinations and all the other stuff like that. So if I do jump into a harder difficulty, it's gonna be uber hard, and then I'm not gonna want to play the game again. So it's like, um, it's just not a good balance. And they didn't recognize that. And unfortunately, as much as I love Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 14 does this shit where they just like drag on how many patches that we had to go through to get to the next fucking, and I love the story too. It was just like, bro, like how many it was so much little shit
I
too.
mean,
Like, oh,
I
but the
will tell
chocobo
you,
ran away, and I'm like, bro,
I
why?
okay, I agree with you, but I think this is was frustrating with all you guys when we were all playing through the story together, and I was like a full expansion ahead of everybody, and everyone else was like, "Oh my god, bro, why are they making me chase this stupid chocobo or fucking Totoro is fucking having an existential crisis or whatever?" Like I get it, but I think the thing is like if you're gonna play Final Fantasy 14 at this point, if you're not gonna skip to the current expansion, like buckle up and just accept the fact that it's going to take you 200 hours to get current or
And
300 hours. Like, it just accept it and enjoy the ride, like, because
yeah,
that's
no,
what I
I
did. And
get
I
that.
fucking loved it, bro. I loved it.
I get
So,
it, but I can't do it here.
yeah,
And I
no,
think
I
they
know. That's exactly right. I don't want that here. That wasn't what I wanted out of Final Fantasy 16,
yeah,
necessarily.
and I can deal with it because it's an MMO, and I expect that from an MMO. But I
Yeah,
couldn't do it here, and unfortunately, their bad habits showed up here, and I'm just like,
definitely.
all right, Yoshi P, this is acceptable in MMO land, but this is an actual. I mean, not a, this is an actual video game, and MMOs are actual video game. But these people that you're dealing with aren't used to this. Like, you can't do this with us on this side of
Yeah,
the spectrum.
right.
And he did it, and I was just like, bro, your
I
story
hope
is
he
really
takes some
fucking good.
lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did. I think this was like a wake up call for him. I think it's a wake up call for Square in general, but for him as well, because um, as much as we shitted on Namuru, right? I feel like he
Mhm.
learned a lot of lessons from Final Fantasy 15, and we did not see that shit in Final Fantasy 7 remake.
And
I don't think,
Kingdom Hearts 3, too.
yeah, in Kingdom Hearts 3. I think Kingdom Heart Final Fantasy 7 remake was like he has the action right and he knows the pacing right. And that
Perfect
game
New
was
War game.
yeah, exactly. That game was a smooth 30 hours, 25,
Yeah.
30
Oh,
hours.
yeah.
And you're in and you're out. And I
Yep.
loved it. Whereas with
And it
this
even had
game,
its slow moments too. It's not like the game was like breakneck pace. There were moments where the game slowed down.
exactly.
You can have that in a 30-hour game, It's
Yeah.
not.
And I think Nomura, like, he learned his lesson, and Yoshi P, he, I don't want to say didn't learn his lesson, but he's just coming from his success, and his success is what this is. And yeah, I did see it when I was playing the game with like Jason Schreier and Skillet was saying. I just didn't think the game was like, oh, it's a fucking terrible game, and I just
No,
like,
I think they took their criticism way too far. This is not a bad game, guys.
yeah,
Like, that's why I'm ultimately like a little frustrated with both of them because like they flamed the shit out of this game and it does not deserve that. It is not that bad.
yeah,
And I think to your point last week we were talking about making your own fun a little bit with the combat and the combo system. Like, it's I think breaking it down to you could just press square to win later in the game is actually not true as much. Like, you really can't just press square to win. You're gonna be sitting there for a long fucking time, buddy. Like,
yeah, exactly,
like your normal attacks do not do that much damage. You need to use skills, and you actually need to use them intelligently in a lot of these fights later on
exactly,
because a lot of the skills are awkward and they don't work on certain bosses very well. You need to time them correctly. You need to be in the right position. You need to make sure you're not in the middle of an enemy attack when you're doing them because they have windups and shit. Like, it's there's actually some skill and strategy in the combat later in the game, especially. So the fodder fights are stupid and like button mashy bullshit, and that's my point. The fact that was what annoyed me about this game. There's just too many of those normal encounters against regular enemies that are boring and like pointless. Like, they're not fun, they're
yeah,
not challenging. Like, they're just a waste of time. And the game has too much of that. And but a section of the game, like a section I think they could have cut a whole chunk out of, is this. I will say another thing. There's another criticism this game, how like dark and drab the story is and the world is in this game. And I do agree with it a little bit because like every nation in this game gets fucking fucked up, dude. Like, ridiculously fucked up. Like, it's like Yoshi P wanted to make sure that every single kingdom got destroyed by the end of the game because like we even went to fucking Canver of all places, like just this random independent like education, like academy nation, merchant nation or whatever, and that place got completely fucking destroyed. And earlier in the game, you have fucking Hugo go to Rosalith and Rosaria and just completely destroy the entire capital of Rosaria. Like like there's sections that I just felt like they didn't really need to be there. I didn't need the camphor section. I didn't need that section with Hugo going to Rosaria, and then he runs away like somebody like takes him and they run away, and you have to go chase Hugo through Dalmekia and go to all the way to where his fucking fortress is. That's like a 5-6 hour air like section. You know, you have to
Yeah,
go through after you already fought the fucking dude and beat him. You know, it's like that it's a lot of fluff just so they could have everything. They wanted the whole map explorable, you know, and I get that desire. I just it this isn't the game for that though, you know. It's like
yeah.
that it's that's my issue. They made like two different games and like mashed them together, you know.
I feel like
And
they were streamlining the game,
yeah.
and this is their version of streamlining. And then I feel like the game should have been streamlined even more. I think there's actually more to what this game was before somebody probably told them to wrangle it in or whatever.
Rein it
Oh,
in.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that was probably the scary part to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, what part really annoyed me? It was a small part, but it really fucking annoyed me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was after the Titan fight or after the Bahamut fight. No, I think it was a Titan fight. Um, you do all this epic shit, and then you go back, you meet Mid. First of all right. As much as I love that character Mid, bro, she came out of nowhere. Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest,
I
y'all.
know.
Like,
There was
and
a one
everybody
there
was
was
like,
one side quest that hinted at her
"Oh,
in the
really?
first part
Okay,
of the game. Yeah. You have to go
okay.
find a letter that a dude lost, and it was about Mid. Like
Oh,
it was from
yeah,
Mid. Yeah.
yeah, okay,
That was the only mention of her though up to that point. She had not been mentioned in the story at
yeah."
all.
And as much as I do love the character, everybody came in like, "Hey, Mid, it's Mid, yo." And I'm like, "Yo, did I miss something at the beginning of the game? Like, why the fuck is everybody happy to see her? Like, what the fuck?"
Uh,
So,
yeah.
I had a problem with that, and then I had a problem with after the Titan fire, after one of these epic fights I had, um, it's the downtime, and it doesn't that normally doesn't affect me. Like, I don't really care about that, but it was this one particular mission where you had to build her ship, and I
Yeah.
was
That was after
so
the Titan fight.
that
Yeah.
was after the
Yeah.
Titan fight. Okay, I
Yeah.
was so fucking annoyed.
It was like 2 or 3
Why the
hours.
why the fuck are you sending me? I am the leader of the resistance. Why are you sending me to the fucking market to get fucking garlic? Like,
Yeah.
bro. And I
Yeah.
understand it was supposed to be a heartwarming moment, depending on who you took, because you had a choice to take Jill or the other girl, I forgot her name.
Tarya, and then it was Gav and Otto, which was so
Yeah,
weird though. It was like out of nowhere, dude. I feel like I don't even know why they made you make a choice because it feels like it was obvious you were taking Gav with the dudes, and it was obvious you were taking Jill with the ladies. You know,
yeah,
like why would you take the other one? You like Tarya barely interacts with Clive in the entirety of the game. You know, most of the time the only interaction she has with him is yelling at him about not resting because he's literally killing himself. You know, like that's her whole character interaction with him, you know? Um, and I'm almost curious what the conversation between the two of them would have been because the one with Jill is like super heartwarming and is like them kind of getting closer to each other, you know, a little bit.
yeah,
It's like almost like a date, literally. It's so I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. That whole section was. That's my point. Like these are moments you could have taken out. Like Mid as a character, they could have taken Mid out of the game, bro. Like I don't even think she needs to be there. You know, I don't really think she's that important to the plot, personally. You take her out, you take all the shipbuilding bullshit out. You take the whole chase on the sea out. You know, you take the canvas section out with Barnabas. You don't need any of that for the story. Like it's just fluff. You know, um, like I don't feel like it added anything. And that dude, that's like, I mean, you take that out, you take the Hugo part with Rosalith out. I mean, we're talking like 10 hours of the game. You could probably remove 10, 12 hours. You know, and I don't think the game would be much lesser for it. Like we didn't need more motivation to go fucking fight Hugo, bro. Like he already fucked up the resistance 5 years ago. Like we don't need him to go to Rosaria and destroy Clive's home to make us hate the dude even more. It's just unnecessary. You know,
yeah.
it's like
It
we're
was
already as players motivated to go fucking kill that guy, you know?
yeah,
So
it was really weird. It was really weird. It was just some story beats that I had to turn off my brain for. Um, like when you were fighting
everything with
Barnabas.
Ultima.
Yes, everything with
Yeah, we'll get
Ultima.
there.
When Barnabas split the sea and you guys fell down,
Yeah.
it was like, where's everybody else? Like I was just
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm just gonna turn my brain for this. Uh, the ship crashes actually, and then you guys survive. Turn off my brain for that. Um, I don't know. And then like I was just like, all right, is the sea gonna come back in? And it didn't. And you fought at the bottom of the sea, which is really cool actually.
Yeah.
But I was just like, all right, so I guess it can control the water with its
Yeah.
split sword move or whatever. It was just a lot of like anime shit, and I'm
But
just
Jill
like,
was there and like, dude, you're getting your ass beat by Barnabas a second time in a row now. And like I don't know how Jill survives all this shit, you know? Like he could have killed her with a single sword swipe. She was like pathetically weak at that moment, you know? And like felt like she was on the verge of fucking death. And then earlier on, for whatever reason, when she turned into Shiva and tried to fight him and like got her ass beat, like he didn't kill her for some reason.
well, he said he
Because
was using her as bait.
I know, but like him and Ultima are literally both talking about consciousness. I need to break the links of consciousness between all these people, and it's like, how do you do that? You kill them, and they didn't do it. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like
It doesn't.
it
I just
is
think
weird.
I don't think they had the guts to kill her. I think
No, they
somebody
didn't.
wanted to.
But dude, like, okay, let's talk about Jill for a second because I really like the character. I hate what they did with her though. This is like Kishimoto syndrome, dude. Like, she's literally like Sakura,
No, she's
style.
not that bad. No,
Bro, no, think
I can't
about it.
let you
You
do that to
have to
her.
no. You have to rescue her 3 different times in the game. Think about that. And the only time she does anything, her one fight in the game is when you go to her old nation and the one that was like enslaving her and you fuck
Yeah.
the priest up. That's the only time she does anything in the game. Every other time she ever fights anybody, she gets her ass fucking kicked, you know? Like
Okay.
and Clive has to go save her or she's barely alive and like, you know, it's just
I don't
it's
know. Maybe because she was just like a partner for me. So like when I took
yeah.
her everywhere, she was there and she was like kicking ass. Maybe that's why I have so much respect for her. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
in
she's
the
like.
story, she's not doing shit, bro. Like she's
Yeah,
getting
that's
her
true.
ass kicked. Like
Yeah, that's true.
I
In
don't know.
major fight, she didn't really like have a
I didn't
didn't
like
really
that
have a
personally.
chance.
It just
Yeah.
it frustrated me. I think they could have done more with the character because I really liked her as a character. And then to your point though, they didn't want to kill her, but then they kill Clive at the end of the game.
I don't think he's dead though.
I mean, they didn't really give a hint that he's alive. Maybe I interpreted things wrong, but like Jill and Torgal had their little crying moment, you know, and then the sun came up, and is that supposed to indicate that maybe he is alive? You know, it's like whatever. We'll get back there, but
Yeah.
I do. So one thing I want to mention though is let's talk about the Tales of Arise comparison real quick in the narrative because I do agree with what you're saying there like 100% because that's what I was thinking of when I got to the end of the game is this game has a really strong like beginning and middle and completely falls apart in the end, the final third in my opinion, in the same way that Tales of Arise does. Like not in the same beats necessarily, but it falls apart. You know, like the story stops making sense. The villain is nonsensical. Like the villain is not even remotely interesting whatsoever. You know, and like I don't care about what's happening anymore by the end of the game. And that's not it's unfortunate because I really think the beginning and middle of this game are fucking awesome. You know, everything up until Bahamut transforms, I think is like really good shit. It's a really strong game, and I think the story is really good. The second Bahamut transforms and everything after that, I think the game like falls apart. The narrative like completely falls apart for me.
Yeah. Can we talk about how I was about to call her Cersei, but
Annabella.
Annabelle
Yeah.
fucking killed herself. We didn't even get the satisfaction of killing her. She killed her fucking self.
It was bad. Yeah,
I was so mad, bro.
it was bad.
That was a Game of Thrones season 8 ending right there for her. I was so fucking pissed.
Well, they spend all this time building her up like she's a master manipulator, and then the twist is nope, it was Ultimate inside her kid the whole time. Like what? What? Like what? Come on, bro. And then she gets like punked basically by Ultima, because Ultima's in her child, and Dion sees that and fucking kills the kid, and she loses her fucking mind, and she's literally monologuing at Clive about how Joshua's dead, and oh, I lost my Joshua, blah blah blah, and he literally points out, he's like, bitch, look outside, the Phoenix is literally right out there, you fucking idiot, are you fucking serious right now? Like, I'm not dead, he's not dead, you betrayed us, and like, you didn't even fucking kill us, like, what the fuck? And the other funny part was, she acted like she didn't know Clive was alive, even though she's the reason he's alive. Like, that was weird too. The whole thing around her didn't work for me. Like, I just think it was a failed character, and I think the Cersei comparison is apt. Like, I think that's what they were going for with her, and it just did not work in this context for me. Unfortunately, I just don't think it had any payoff.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I agree. I feel like it was really bad. Um, I didn't like her death. I liked her all the way up until that point. And I was just like, this is not making any sense. Why did they do this to her like that? And
yeah.
then, like you said, the Tales of Arise thing. Oh, we're a fucking alien race, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, no, no, it did not do a fucking Tales of Arise. It actually did it, and
Oh my god.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe it's okay because they
Yeah.
hinted at it earlier. Maybe it's easier for me to swallow, and it was because they did it earlier in the game, like the middle point when you meet when Sid dies. So you
Not
already
even the
know, like,
middle
there's
point. That's like what, a third of the way through the game, maybe.
yeah, that's a third of the way. You're right.
Yeah,
So
they did
like,
it really early. They
they
introduced
did it really
Ultima
early.
really early.
Yeah, so we know what's coming, but I didn't. I thought I'm like, I don't know what I expected, bro. To be honest with you, I don't know what I expected. Um,
Well, if
in
you're
the
gonna
blight.
introduce him, that early, this is my problem with Ultima. Is he's a completely uninteresting villain, and in the fact they did nothing with the introduction of him early. Like, they needed to spend more time explaining him, and ultimately the explanation was lame. Like, he's just a god who created the world for himself to save himself from the blight. Like, that's the whole thing. And it's it's silly because it's like hypocritical too, and like Clive tries to point it out to him a couple times, like, bro, you're literally doing the same thing I'm doing right now, you're just trying to survive. It's like, but it's, I don't know, he's just evil to be evil. He's like, oh, I'm the creator, oh, you're humans shouldn't have free will, this is, fucking, I created you, fucking bow down to me, motherfucker. It's like, it's just not interesting at all. The conflict with him sucks. Like, it's and I think it, unfortunately, I think the introduction of him early kind of ruins the rest of the narrative, because he permeates through the entire time skip section of the game. Like, there are tons of characters that I feel like have no agency within the story themselves, Barnabas being
Mhm.
one, the king of the empire being another. Like, he gets manipulated by the kid being possessed by Ultima, and like, it's frustrating because he looks exactly the same as the one that Joshua caged within his body, and then they reveal it at literally the last possible moment they could, that they're all different, they're different, that Ultima they're fighting is a different thing, different entity from the one that Joshua captured. And it's like, okay, that explains a huge thing that was like really confusing, like, because Joshua captured him, and yet he's out and about, like, fucking destroying the planet, possessing people, physically manifesting himself and casting giant, like, tornado spells and shit to destroy the landscape, and making all these ether floods and shit. It's like, that shit didn't make sense, and that it was really annoying when that moment happened, because I'm literally sitting there looking at Joshua's chest like, are they ever going to explain this? Like, he still has the wound there. It's still there. It's like, and then they did, and it was like, oh, that's it. They were just separate entities. Like, okay, what? Like, come on, man. It fell super flat, and it sucks because everything outside of that, like the actual nations and the characters involved in those nations, up until Bahamut transforms, I fucking love all that stuff. Like, I think it's excellently written, and it sucks that they have this like almighty character that just inserts himself into the story and ruins everything, and like manipulates everybody. Because even Dion, right, who seems like he's, he's taking command. He's trying to fucking overthrow, Annabella and thwart her bullshit and save his father and everything. And like even he gets manipulated and completely loses agency over himself and gets transformed into Bahamut forcibly and goes on a rampage and destroys the entire capital. It's like
Yeah.
it sucks. Like it wasn't a good it was a really shitty way to force you to fight Bahamut. I did not like that element of the story, in my opinion. It felt like they wanted to make sure you fought every icon pretty much, and you needed to obtain them all over the course of the game, and they needed to force that in some way. So they just made up this hackneyed manipulation situation with him, and it, I don't know, it didn't fall right for me, that part. So
Yeah. The Bahamut thing was like really weird, but I took it at face value because I really like Dion. I'm like, all right, cool. I understand that he figured out who Ultima was and he needed to kill the child and everything like that. He killed his father, and that would make you, I guess, go crazy. Um, but one thing I couldn't understand was why do games? Now this may be like, oh, the JRPG thing, but it's just been a recent thing that's been going on. They build up a really good narrative, like Tales of Arise, right? You're freeing slaves. Actually, let's talk about that.
yeah.
Um,
I know, same
what's his name?
concept too,
Alphen.
right?
Alphen, I think his name.
Yes, Alphen. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Alphen and Clive are so similar. It's
yeah.
actually fucking insane.
The fire element of both of them.
They both were
Man.
slaves, but they both like come from like some kind of
Yeah,
royalty or whatever the fuck.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. And then they have to like, it's just a lot of similarities or whatever. But
Also, the
you
political side of the early part of Tales of Arise, like
was
there's the
really fucking
nations.
good.
The nations get established really well in that game, in the same way they do in Final Fantasy 16, and then they're like totally cast aside in the back
I w-
half. You know?
I wouldn't be surprised if we looked deeper and found the writers from Tales of Arise who left and joined the Final Fantasy team. I would not be surprised because it's so many. The Last Kingdom being completely fucking empty. He's a king of nothing, and you're like,
Oh my god, you're dude. Yo, I didn't even put that together. That's fucked.
that's
Oh my
that's where
god.
that's where it hit me. I was like,
Oh
he's the fifth
no.
boss. He's
Yo, dude, you're totally fucking right. Oh,
and the fifth
well,
boss
the third
had a
nation is
katana.
bro. Yeah, I'm thinking of like Dalmekia is like the same as like the third nation kind of as well.
Yeah,
Like, oh my god, man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the games were like super similar, and I was just like, all I can think of was like, this is Tales of Arise. This is like a better version of Tales of Arise, like
Yeah.
through and through. And I couldn't get out of my head. And yeah, and once I beat Ultima, I was just like, dude, like I was so done with that fight.
Oh, me too.
Ultima just didn't need to exist. And yeah, like you were saying, he was explaining why he was doing this. Oh, me and my race used too much magic and we caused the blight. So we came here, created you guys, made the mother crystals, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. But we needed you guys to destroy the mother crystals so that you can, stop the blight. And I'm like, but you made it. You
I
made the
know.
mother crystals.
They made the blight too.
So what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? Why are you? I just would. If I was Clive, I'm like, why? This is all your fault. Why are you doing this? Why am I fighting you right now, bro? This is literally genuinely your fault. Do you not realize that you're a god? Yes, but you're stupid. Like, bro, like I don't understand. That's how it would have been, and I wouldn't even fought. I'm like, bro, just kill me. I don't care anymore. Like, this is stupid. I don't even know why we're fighting because that's how it
Yeah,
felt.
like
I'm like, why are we fighting? And then at the end, everybody loses their magic, and I'm just like, bro, this is about to be a terrible world. It was so terrible that the time skip at the end of the post credit scenes are like a few centuries later because it
it's
probably was
it's
just that bad.
it's hyper depressing, dude. Like icons are like legends. There's no icons anymore. Like people can't do magic. They're like it's like a fairy tale, and it's like I guess the world's healed though, presumably. Like that that's the thing. The end like was I don't know. I didn't have enough. It sucked. Like Clive died, Joshua died, Dion died, like everybody died. It was super sad. It's depressing as fuck. Like Like you were saying, they didn't want to kill Jill, but they just killed Clive. It's like the same thing. That's super sad. It's ridiculously sad, dude. Like everybody loves Clive. Like what the fuck? And they have these like monologues before that, like him and Joshua are like, "We're coming back. We're coming back. We're not gonna die. We're not sacrificing ourselves." Like, and then they do it. It's like, what the fuck? So I didn't find the end to be super satisfying. I'm a fan of dark endings and things when they make sense. I feel like this was like they just made it sad for no reason, It's weird. And the other game, the end of the game reminded me of was a fucking Endwalker, dude. Final Fantasy 14. Like the way the world was getting destroyed, it's super similar to that. You just like globetrot around the world and go help everybody and defend them from the fucking evil thrall crazy creatures, and then you go fight the thing that's causing it. And it's like I don't know. It's weird. There's too many similarities between these things, and it's like it's unfortunate because the setup was so good, all the shit with the Empire and Dion and his fucking dad and Annabella and the betrayal of Rosaria and them becoming like a vassal state to the Empire was super fucking interesting. And Dalmekia and the way they were moving around was like super interesting. And just to find out that Barnabas was the whole time you're doing all that shit, Barnabas is busy killing his entire kingdom, bro. Like, oh, that's why Waloed never invaded, because the dude was lost his fucking mind and just murdered all his people. It's like what? It's so frustrating because Barnabas seemed like a character that had a ton of potential as a villain throughout the game, Like I feel like he should have made himself known way earlier because he goes toe to toe with Bahamut, bro, like earlier in the game in a cutscene, and it's
Yeah.
like he doesn't even break a sweat, He's clearly the most powerful of the icons, the whole time. And I would have liked to see him involved a little bit more and have his own agency, not just be like a thrall to Ultima,
Speaking
It
of icons,
sucks.
did they ever explain? And maybe I missed it through the dribble.
Yeah.
Why Ifrit is there?
Um So I think Ifrit is the icon that indicates the vessel that is Mythos. That's the
Oh,
purpose of it. It's not I don't think it's ever been around before Clive awakened it. Like I don't think
okay.
I think he was the first dominant of Ifrit. I don't think any of I think the rest of them were all around. The thing I don't understand is there's supposed to be 8 icons at any given time, one for each element. And I'm trying to think what we had Ifrit, Phoenix, Shiva, Odin, Ramu, Titan, Bahamut, right? Am I
Shiva,
missing one?
right?
Oh, Garuda,
Gruda, yeah.
right? That's 8. So who was the 8th if Ifrit's never been around, Like there should have
Well,
been
I thought they
another
said it
one.
only been 7, and then the eighth never there'd never been an eighth. I thought that's
No,
what they
they
said.
mentioned 8. They said there were 8. They're eight,
Okay,
eight, eight dominants for 8 mother crystals. Because there used to be 8 mother crystals. If you go in the lore, I did read some of this. There were 8 mother crystals, and they've been destroyed over time by other people. Um, and it's not the game doesn't indicate who those people were or what events caused the crystals to be broken. But there were 3 other ones before the game even starts that were destroyed at one time or another. There was one in the north, like north of Rosaria.
hmm
And that's the most recent one that was destroyed. It was destroyed like 70 or 80 years before the story starts. And that is where Rosaria like defends themselves from the Northerners or whatever, and ends up defeating them and taking them in as part of the nation. They become part of Rosaria. And then there was one near Twin Side. You know where that giant waterfall area was, where there was like a giant fucking like Niagara Falls chasm,
yeah,
basically. There was one there, and then there was another one I think on the south side of Ash that got destroyed at some point.
okay.
So there were 8 total, and there was supposed to be a dominant for each one, basically. So I mean, it's not important. It's just a little detail though, that I found a little weird. But I guess Ifrit, you know, replaced one of them, or maybe there always was a dominant of Ifrit and they just never revealed themselves to people. But that seems unlikely given the nature of how valuable they are in this world or were in this world. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think the end of the game is unfortunately just doesn't, it falls flat, man. I was annoyed because when Dion died, I was like, all right, they set that up. He was kind of resigning himself to that fate. But then when Joshua died, I was like, bro, come on, man, you really doing this? And then when they killed, like when Clive's like on the beach and he's like turning to stone or whatever from using the fire, I'm like,
Hmm.
man, they're really doing this. They're killing all of them. Like there's no happy ending at all. And then they, like you said, they time skip, and it kind of just seems like this world sucks now. There's no magic. Like there's no crystals. Like like it's, I don't know. Like it's it's weird because I think the other thing that I find weird is the game takes place on these two continents, right? And there is mention of other areas in the world, like land masses outside of these two.
Oh, they do mention that.
Yeah, like Barnabas, like if you read his history, like he
Oh
came
yeah, he
from a
came from the
different
south. Yeah,
continent.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
he came from the south and like took over Waloed just by strength of arms, by himself, like, basically like alone, and then rallied people to him and took over the nation and became king. So there were other land masses, and like, what happened to those? Did those have mother crystals? Like, is Valistia was did Ultima, like, in his whatever brethren, whatever you want to call them, did they cause the blight in the rest of the world? And this
So
place was the only place that was left. Like,
I think that's how I interpreted it.
yeah,
I interpreted it as because he never said from space. It just reminded me of that. But he said other land, and then we found this land and did what they wanted to do in Valstia. So Valistia rather. So
yeah,
that's how I interpret it. And then they made the humans on this land, and then
yeah,
they just watched them kind of grow from there. So
yeah.
I think that's what happened.
But how would
Um,
Barnabas have come from a different place though? Because he's a human. So
that's true. Fuck, I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's like it's a little plot hole probably, but
And then like he was like mentioning his mother, and they just never went anywhere with that, like at
well,
all.
yeah, like Ultima like turned into his mother naked at one point. I'm like, bro, what is happening here, dude? I'm like, Barnabas, your mom is hot, dude, but like this is weird, homie. Like,
Yeah, and they just never mentioned it again. I thought we were gonna get like some kind of backstory or a
nope,
flashback of his
nope.
family dying or something. He mentions his mother. He's like, I'm doing it for my mother," or something like that. And then they just never mention it again.
Well, when he
And like,
dies, he's like mother, and then he dies. It's like,
yeah, it's
okay,
maybe we'll get like a DLC because now they said that since the success of this game, because I okay, so this is another thing with this game, right? I did some reading on this shit. Like, I don't even think they thought this game was going to be selling well because they
yeah,
didn't plan any DLC for this game. And
yeah,
now they said they're taking player feedback and they see that players want more. And now they're gathering the team together to do DLC for the game. So we're not going to see DLC for this game
interesting.
for like maybe another year. Um,
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. This game is so weird, man. Like you said, like the first, I would give it. I'm being generous. The first 2/3 of the game is really good. It's that last third of the game,
oh
bro.
yeah,
That just
the Bahamut is the 2/3 mark. I think like
yeah.
when Bahamut transforms. I think you're 2/3 of the way through that game when you get to that point, and yeah, I think it falls apart after that. It's a lot of running around for no reason, and just like they could have cut a lot of the content there. In my opinion, it's a lot of hours for very little gain to me. And I don't, I like the villains at that point in the game are not interesting. Like Barnabas, unfortunately, is set up like he could have been interesting, but the way they played him and the way they wrote him like sucks. He has no agency as a character. He's literally just this really powerful thrall, and it sucks. Like I think it's really shitty. I don't I like I think it's a character that like they missed a ton of potential on, unfortunately. And I think this game would have been more interesting if Ultima wasn't involved at all, and there was no god part of this, and it was literally all just within the nations themselves, like Clive having to like go through them all. and destroy the mother crystals. Like that is a lot more interesting to me than what the way things played out, you know. Because I'll be honest, my favorite mother crystal infiltration mission is the first one you do at Drake's Head, you know. Um,
Yeah.
because the beginning of it, they're infiltrating the empire, you know. It's like really difficult and interesting. And you learn some things about the empire on the way to do that. You know, the rest of them, I'd say Dalmekia, you do learn some things on the way to that one, but the other three, they kind of just happen, you know. And you don't like even the one on what was it, Drake's Tail, I think, the one that was out in the ocean. Even that one, like, you don't really learn a whole lot in that section. Like that one felt, that mission was weird. That mission felt so out of place compared to the rest of the game. Like it's like they knew they had to do it, but they didn't want to put a lot of effort into it. Because you get very little story cutscenes in there, and the ones you do get don't explain very much. It's mostly just Jill yelling at the dude and murdering that guy, basically. And then her like attendant, like that's it. You know, and the rest of it's just them traversing to get there, basically. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I don't know. You know, I don't want to shit on the game too much. Like, what I will say, like the first 2/3 are super good, like super super good. I was like hyper fucking invested up to that point, you know. Unfortunately, they started to lose me after that, but like I don't know. I'd almost love to see a DLC where there's like an alternate timeline, you know, where things play out differently. um you know, and it's a little bit more rushed, obviously, but that would be a little bit more interesting, I guess, because yeah, I just think there's a lot of manipulation in this game, and a lot of major characters get manipulated into going against Clive. Like Hugo's another one. I guarantee you, the game never explicitly says this, but I guarantee you that Barnabas is the one who sent Benedicta's head to him in a box. Because
Oh yeah, they never fucking explained that part.
I would assume Barnabas did that, and he was already in the thrall of Ultima at that point and was manipulating Hugo to go against Clive. Um,
But isn't it
Basically.
just weird how Clive just took that? He was like, "Yeah, I did that." And it's like, "No, you didn't. Why would
Yeah.
you lie like that?"
Well, he did kill her. He didn't desecrate
Oh,
her the way Hugo thought he did, but
she was still alive.
no, he killed her when she turned into Garuda. That was
Okay.
the first time he transformed into Ifrit, or second time he transformed into Ifrit, and
Okay.
he killed her in icon form. But
Okay.
yeah, but I didn't mind that piece. It actually made sense. It's two dudes like full of testosterone wanting to murder each other. Like, yeah, they're not going to take a sidebar to explain, you know, hey, I didn't actually cut her head off and send it to you in a box. Like, that would have been weird. So it was fine. I didn't mind that piece because he did actually kill her, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I
um,
mean, I thought he let her. I thought she was still like breathing or whatever. But
no, the first encounter, he doesn't kill her before
yeah.
she, like, I think it's when, before she turns into Garuda, like when she just primes and he steals her power. He didn't kill her there. He walked away and she was leaving, and then she transforms into Garuda, and then he killed her after that. So
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a good game. I mean, it's an enjoyable story. I think it's gonna suck. Like, I think a lot of people will get sucked in by this game and end up in the same place we do, and it's so sad to me. I think it's a missed opportunity, unfortunately. Um, but what I will say, if you want a, you know, uh, like a better version of this, Final Fantasy XIV is there. So, um, there are some similarities between the two games' narratives. It's just you're gonna be playing the game for a long fucking time to get the full story in that one. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to cover? Or
Nah, that's really one. I just wanted to get that out because I don't know. The game was okay.
I will
It
say the
was just
side
weird,
characters. I
man.
do. I want to say that though. The side characters in this game are really good. The ones in the hideout, like Otto, Gav, what's his name, Harpocrates. You know, they do get fleshed out a bit, and I did enjoy those characters a lot.
I
Yeah, that's
agree.
the thing.
The side character, like the world building, the side characters, and the combat itself is really good. The thing I have issues with is the enemies; they're not hard enough, and the story. I just really don't like when you introduce a villain, even though he was introduced early. Um,
I hate god villains like as your final
yeah,
villain.
yeah,
I like JRPGs do that shit way too often, and it's really frustrating because it's not like gods are not interesting villains generally because their motivations are like they're like one note. They're one dimensional generally. You know, it's not they're not interesting. Like because I will say this, like I don't not just I don't like I'm not gonna spoil Fantasy 14, but Final Fantasy 14 like doesn't do that, and I love it for it. So
okay.
you know, and this is from the same director. So
I
um
mean, I wonder what made him go that direction. I mean, I know that's a common theme in mainline Final Fantasies, where you know they're. I mean, I watched an analysis on how I don't think they're like necessarily anti God, but they're like anti like religion or something like that. But not necessarily like religion is bad, but they're like, they're for humans or whatever. That's usually like the analysis was saying, like, we have human spirit and we done a lot, and it's usually a lot of like anti God stuff in there.
mhm.
Like all the way from like Final Fantasy 1 to now. A lot of it's like you're fighting this god or whatever to show off the human spirit or whatever.
It's true in
Uh,
anime all the time too,
yeah,
right? I mean, like
and
think about that. How many like animes and mangas have you read that end with like the main characters fighting some kind of deity or something or
yeah,
otherworldly being? And it happens all the time, you know. It's
yeah.
pretty common in Japanese you know, stories, narratives.
Yeah, you're right. It's just really weird. I don't know. I do respect it for like staying close to his roots, but I really want besides like the combat, I think they should have shook up the story a little bit more. I don't think the mother crystal or not the mother crystals, but I don't think Ultima should have been in there at all. I think Walud should have, or not Walud, but Barnabas should have been the fucking final boss, and then he probably should have turned into Ultima, but like not like Ultima's possessing him, but like it's just like his really final strength or whatever like that.
Like his
And
will was so strong towards, you know, I don't know, evil or whatever you want to call it, that he like transforms into or shit, yeah, he transforms into like a different icon than Odin, you know, like he awakens in a different way, and it's the
yeah,
evil version of Ifrit, you know, with that is Ultima.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
that would have
I,
been more acceptable because the way they did it, yeah, Barnabas has no agency as a character whatsoever,
yeah,
and yeah, it sucks.
and it
It's
kind
just
of makes the whole mother crystal thing useless. Like, oh, we meant for you to do that. So it's like, bro, we were doing
joke's
all
on
this.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were doing all this for no reason. Like, I don't think they should have done that. I think they should have had like Barnabas trying to defend the mother crystals because he wants to harness all the magic for himself or something like that. And you're like, no, bro, we gotta break these mother crystals because there's not going to be a world for you to rule or whatever the case because of the blight or whatever the fuck. He's just like blinded by. He's just magic written. He's blinded by the magic or whatever the case may be. Like, because we already saw him kill his kingdom or take everybody off of his kingdom, so he
Or
doesn't
he's a
really care
selfish
about
prick and he wants to be king of the fucking world. Like he thinks he can save the
exactly.
world with the ether that the mother crystals contain. And he wants it for himself so he can save the world and rule over it. You know, some shit like that. I mean, that
Yes,
probably
something like that.
that would have been better than what we got, even though it's not that like it's still
It's
a
not that
shallow
better.
villain, but at least he has agency as a character, you know, in
Yeah,
that version of it. It's not being manipulated the whole time.
yeah. I don't like those kind of characters. Even though like I said, this one didn't do it. This one didn't do a Tales of Arise thing where it was just like, oh, the beast is just acting off instinct and trying to eat the world and everything. They're like, bro, this all
That
this is
shit
because
was
of that.
weird. That
That
shit
shit
was
was
so
so fucking stupid. I still can't get over that. Like everything that you've been fighting for, all the slavery shit and everything means absolutely nothing now. Like it was just it was just stupid. And that's how I feel about this world. I feel like at the end, I mean, yeah, everybody lived, but like all that shit you were fighting for just like doesn't
yeah.
mean anything. And then like you gotta think about the bears that are still being like used by their masters. They can't even use fire anymore or whatever magic.
and they're
Like
treated
now they're
like
just gonna be
shit. They're
killed.
treated even
Yeah,
worse. Yeah,
and
right.
it's like I don't know.
It's
That's
dark.
just
Yeah,
so
it's not really a happy ending. Like the game doesn't really have a happy ending.
yeah.
And
And I don't even think I want to play a DLC where they kind of like tie in what happened between the post credit scenes and then his death. But it's just like because it's gonna be a depressing ass world. We know what happens. Like it just slowly devolves from the magic they were using, and now they have to use like common stuff, how to start
well, do they
fires and all
even
the
do
shit.
that either? Because like, if you're gonna do a DLC, are you gonna not make us play as Clive then? Because that would be weird. I mean, they've
I
done
was
that in other Final
thinking
Fantasy games, but I don't know.
I mean, I was thinking like they do something like Yuffie's integrate or whatever, or Final Fantasy VII integrate, where you play as Yuffie on the side, so we
Yeah.
may be able to play as Jill, because a lot of those other characters have really distinct move sets. If you watch
Yeah.
them fight, and it's
Oh
like, wow,
yeah.
you
Oh
guys, you
yeah.
guys have some fucking good
Jill's
move
fucking
sets.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, so I actually think they designed some of these characters to be played, but they just kind of scrapped at the last minute. So I think that stuff is in there, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making shit up, but like, uh, I don't know. I just want the game to be better, man. Like, it's a good game, but I don't feel like this was worth the wait, in my opinion. The
Yeah.
more I
Yeah, and
talk about it, the
it
more I
sucks
just don't
because
feel like it was worth this wait.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean Clive is like honestly, he's a great main character. It's
Yes,
kind of a shame. I feel like he's wasted a little bit
yes. I was about to say
because
that. I think he's wasted on this game, man. Like, if
yeah.
he was in a different game, like he would have been like he's easily right now my goat, but like he would have been the goat. Fortunately though, people are still gonna be like Cloud the goat or whatever.
Nah,
So,
bro, Shulk's the goat. Shulk's the
well,
goat
I'm talking
also.
about Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, Shulk's the goat. Always, obviously.
Cloud, dude. Jesus Christ. Don't get me started. I mean, I will
Yeah, I'm
say
ready to start.
Cloud in Final Fantasy VII remake, I
It's
like
better.
him a lot
He's a
more than
lot
he
better.
ever has been before that. So they changed his portrayal a little bit, and I enjoy it a lot more. So I think he's a pretty good MC in that game. In the original Final Fantasy VII, like, dude, what? Okay, like he's not interesting at all in that game to me. Not like not nearly as interesting, I guess, is what I should say. Um, and I'm trying to think of other MCs. I mean, Titus,
He was annoying as fuck.
Balthier, in Final Fantasy 12.
Actually, I did like what's his face? Squall. I like Squall. Squall was
Paul,
cool. Yeah,
Lightning. I mean, do you like Lightning?
he was all right.
Noctis, Sasuke Light.
I don't think he was. Everybody says that because he looks like
He
Sasuke,
just
but I
looks
don't
like
think.
Sasuke.
Yeah,
He doesn't really have any other similarities.
yeah.
Um,
He was okay. I think he was like a teen trying to find himself though, and that's to me that's an annoying trope. Even though I can relate, everybody can relate to that. It's still just an annoying ass trope. But he wasn't an actual bad MC. I didn't think he was annoying at all. I just think he was like,
yeah,
oh, you guys are cringe type person.
yeah,
When Agnes would try to cook with them
yeah.
and everything
A
like that.
new
So
recipe.
yeah. And
I
what's
almost want
funny?
to.
I actually love that party. I love that party. I just hate the fucking game. I
I
love
almost
that
want to
party
try the
though.
game again with all the DLC and give it another chance, but
I think you should try it. I mean, the combat's still stale, but you
yeah.
should try it.
Okay. I like Titus too. I know everybody like memes on him, but I enjoy him as an MC. I think he's got
He reminds me of Naruto.
yeah. Well, he's a little bit more. I guess like I don't know. People would probably call him emo or whatever back then, but like I like the fact that he's not like you kind of get to explore who he is a lot throughout that course of that game. And I think his transformation is actually pretty well told in the game because he starts off as just like the fucking playboy like star blitzball player,
Yeah,
and transforms into an actually like very reliable person who like really cares about the party by the end of the game.
yeah.
And I enjoy that transformation personally, but um, I know not everybody does. So I'm trying to think like Lightning, she's all right. She's okay. She's solid, I guess. Like she's not a terrible MC, but um, yeah. Final Fantasy 13 is weird. I haven't played that game in a long time. about it.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 13. Yeah, I need to play that as well. I don't
Yeah,
know. I need to play it again. I thought it was a good game. I know a lot of people hate it, but I thought it was an
I
okay
like it a
game.
lot. Still infamously my first platinum, which is a
I
totally
think
random
13
game.
2 is better, in my opinion. That's me
Yeah,
though. It's my opinion, but
yeah, and then 13.3 is like it's like an
is it
action
13
game, isn't
3?
it?
Oh, 13 Lightning Returns.
Yeah, is that an action game?
A pseudo action game, yeah.
Okay, I never played that one either. It's weird. It's
Yeah,
like a
it's
weird time
almost
travel
like,
thing.
in my opinion, it's almost like a beta test for what they thought Final Fantasy VII remake was going to be.
Or
Like that's what
15.
it feels like. Yeah, no 7. Like the 7 remake almost plays like that game, in my
Oh,
opinion.
really?
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, fair
I think they were
enough. All
just
right.
testing something out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um, anything else you want to talk about with Final Fantasy 16? I mean, I don't want to keep going and make your opinion of the game worse. So,
no,
should probably
I
cut it
don't.
off.
In my opinion, the game's not going to get worse. It's still an 8 for me, but it is a lot of stuff in that game that I did not like, unfortunately.
It's
But
not
no, I
as
think
good as I was hoping. That's the disappointing takeaway. And while I don't agree with Skill Up's assessment and how harsh he was on it, I do agree with a lot of the points he makes. And I
yes,
understand why he got where he was with the game. Because the game is really long, and if you don't like it, like early on, you're gonna fucking hate the game by the end of the game. You know,
yeah, that's a
it's
good thing. That's a good assessment.
it will get really grating because it's a lot of the same. It doesn't
You know what?
change, I
It's
guess.
like it's like beer, y'all. It's an acquired taste. If you don't like it, you're not gonna
Yeah,
like it at all.
yeah.
If you like Justin said, if you don't like it at the beginning, then you're definitely gonna hate the ending for sure, for sure.
All right, fair enough. Well, I think we'll call it there. I am starving and I need to go eat dinner.
All right,
Yeah, I already did the rigmarole. I don't know. Hopefully, there's some more news next week. We're fucking been pretty light on news lately, and I have no idea what the hell I'm going to play now that I'm done with Final Fantasy.
read a
So I got to
book.
figure that out. Read a book. Yeah, I should. I probably should. I have the fifth Expanse book. I've literally been sitting on for like 9 months. I haven't like picked it back up, so that might be that's not a bad idea, Montreal. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I was actually thinking about jumping into Star Ocean next.
Oh yeah, that did come out. I heard that was
Yeah,
okay.
I never played that last year, so but got a lot of games sitting over there I need to play. So, all right, well, thank you, Montreal, for joining me as always, and everybody else. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this spoiler cast for Final Fantasy 16, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week. All right.